What if I told you that right now, in this moment, you're completely free? Free to quit your job, free to leave your relationship, free to change everything about your life. Right now, this second, nothing is stopping you. Not really. You saw it, the door, the exit, and you looked away. Why? Because the truth that Jean-Paul Sartre discovered is unbearable. You are radically, absolutely, terrifyingly free, and you spend every day lying to yourself about it. Paris, 1945. The war is over. The Nazis are gone. People are rebuilding, trying to return to normal life. And a short, cross-eyed philosopher walks into a lecture hall and tells them something worse than anything they survived. You have no excuse. Jean-Paul Sartre, the man who made existentialism famous, the man who said existence precedes essence, the man who refused the Nobel Prize because he didn't want to be institutionalized. But more than anything, the man who told you that you can't blame anyone, not God, not your parents, not society, for who you are. His philosophy isn't comforting. It's not self-help. It's the opposite. It's a mirror held up to every excuse you've ever made. And when you look into it, you see someone who's been lying to themselves all along. Sartre called this bad faith, living as if you're not free, as if your choices aren't really yours, as if you're just following orders, playing a role, doing what you're supposed to. And he spent his life tearing that lie apart. Picture a waiter working in a cafe, moving between tables, taking orders, serving coffee. Now watch him closely. Notice something? He's not just being a waiter, he's playing at being a waiter. Sartre observed this and saw something devastating. The waiter is convincing himself that he is a waiter, not a person who works as a waiter, but a waiter, essentially, completely, his entire being reducible to this role. Why would anyone do this? Because being a waiter is exhausting in a different way. If you're a waiter, you have to make choices. You have to decide how to act. You're responsible. But if you're pretending to be an automaton whose essence is serving coffee, you're off the hook. This is bad faith, and we all do it. The employee who says, "I'm just following orders," as if orders remove responsibility. The person who says, "I'm just not a morning person," as if personality is destiny. The couple who says, "We're staying together for the kids," as if that's not also a choice. We pretend we're not free because freedom is terrifying. So what's the alternative? What does it mean to live authentically? Sartre's answer is brutal. Existence precedes essence. Think about a chair. Before it exists, someone designed it. They decided, this will be for sitting. Its essence, its purpose, comes before it ever physically exists. The chair has no freedom. It is what it was designed to be. But you? You weren't designed. There's no blueprint for you, no instruction manual, no predetermined purpose. You exist first, and only afterward, through your choices, your actions, your commitments, do you create your essence. You become what you choose to become. This sounds empowering, right? You're the author of your own life. You can be anything. But here's the catch. You can't blame anyone for what you become. Not your parents, not your trauma, not society, not God, because for Sartre, God doesn't exist, which means there's no one who made you for a purpose. You are condemned to be free. Condemned, because you can't escape it. You can't not choose. Even refusing to choose is a choice. Even letting others decide for you is your choice to let them decide. There is no moment where you're not responsible, no circumstance that removes your agency completely. Even in prison, you choose how to respond to imprisonment. Your freedom is absolute, and that's why you'd rather pretend it's not. But if freedom is so great, why do we avoid it? Why do we cling to bad faith like a life raft? Sartre has an answer. Anguish. When you realize you're truly free, you feel vertigo, because there's nothing holding you in place. No essence saying, you're meant to do this. No fate guiding you. No safety net. You're standing on nothing. And you have to make choices that will define your entire life, with no guarantee you're choosing correctly. Every major decision is a leap into darkness. And once you've leaped, you can't go back. You become what you chose. This is why we invent excuses. I had no choice. It's not my fault. I'm just doing what I was raised to do. These excuses are lies, but they're comfortable lies. They protect us from the anguish of admitting, I am the author of my life. And if my life is disappointing, it's because of the choices I made. No wonder we prefer bad faith. It's easier to be a character in someone else's story than the author of your own. Now, Sartre's most famous line, the one everyone misunderstands. Hell is other people. This comes from Sartre's play No Exit. 3 people, recently dead, locked in a room together for eternity. No torture devices, no physical pain, just conversation. And it's worse than any torture. Why is this hell? Because each person needs something from the others that they refuse to give. Garça needs Inés to tell him he's not a coward. She refuses. Because she sees the truth, he is a coward. And he realizes he can't make her see him differently. He can't control how she judges him. He's trapped by her gaze. Forever. This is what Sartre means. Hell is being defined by how others see you. Hell is needing their approval to exist. Hell is when your sense of self depends on them and they won't cooperate. But here's what people miss. Sartre isn't saying other people are inherently hell. He's saying they become hell when you give them that power. If you know who you are, if you define yourself through your own choices, not others' judgments, then other people can't be hell. They're just other people. Hell is other people, only if you let them in. Only if you need them to tell you who you are. Otherwise, you're free. Sartre died in 1980. He never saw the internet, never saw social media, never saw the 21st century. But if he did, he'd recognize it immediately. We've built an entire civilization around bad faith. Look at how we talk now. The algorithm showed me this. As if the algorithm makes decisions for you. As if you're not choosing to keep scrolling. I have to post this for work. I have to keep up my personal brand. I have to respond to these messages. Have to. No, you don't. You're choosing to, and calling it necessity is bad faith. We've made bad faith frictionless. You don't even have to think about it anymore. The app makes decisions. The algorithm curates. The platform nudges. And you get to pretend you're not choosing. Sartre would look at this and say, you're more free than any generation in history, and you're using that freedom to pretend you're not free. The modern disease isn't lack of freedom, it's the unbearable weight of having too much freedom. So we outsource it to platforms, to influencers, to algorithms, anything to avoid the anguish of choosing for ourselves. But there's someone who took Sartre's philosophy and made it bearable. Albert Camus. They were friends once, public intellectuals, resistance-era comrades, both wrestling with the absurd condition of human life. But they split over a crucial difference, one that turned philosophical agreement into moral rupture. Sartre said, "You're free, that's the burden." Camus said, "You're free, that's the opportunity." For Sartre, freedom is almost a curse, condemned to be free. Condemned. There is no essence, no script, only responsibility for every choice you make. You're trapped by infinite possibility, and whatever you choose, you alone are accountable. But Camus looked at the same freedom and asked, what if we just lived it? What if we stopped agonizing over whether our choices justify the universe and simply acted, fully aware of their limits? One must imagine Sisyphus happy. Camus' answer to existential anguish, not optimism, not denial, but defiance. You don't need cosmic justification. You don't need metaphysical approval. You don't need to know if your choices are ultimately right. You choose, and then you stand by the choice. This is where Camus went beyond Sartre. He kept freedom, but refused to let it collapse into despair. You're free, absolutely free. You can freeze in the terror of that, or you can revolt and dance inside it. So what does this mean for you, right now, watching this? You are free, more free than you admit. That job you hate, you're choosing to stay. That relationship that drains you, you're choosing to remain. That city you complain about, you're choosing not to leave. You might have reasons, good reasons, financial, familial, fear. But reasons aren't the same as compulsion. You're still choosing. And Sartre's point isn't to make you feel guilty, it's to wake you up. You've been sleepwalking through your own life, playing roles, following scripts, performing yourself, and calling it necessity. The moment you realize you're free, truly free, two things happen. First, you feel anguish, because there's no one to blame anymore, no safety net, no excuses. But second, if you push through that anguish, you feel something else. Power. Not over others, over yourself. The power to choose, to create, to become. Not what you were told to be, but what you decide to be. Sartre called this a condemnation. Camus called it a revolt. They were both trying to name the same thing, and neither of them gets the final word. Because philosophy isn't a verdict you obey, it's a lens you look through, and then you decide whether to keep it or throw it away. You can keep pretending you're not free, keep playing the role, keep following the script, keep scrolling, deferring, avoiding, or you can stop, right now, this moment. You're free. The question is not what Sartre would do, not what Camus would choose. The question is, what are you going to do with it? You're already choosing. You always were.